Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining in the Spiritist Talk series promoted by the United States Spiritist Federation every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I am very happy to be here to host this talk by Sabrina Tomaszewski, who will be leading our live with the theme, Is Seeing Believing? I would like to take a brief moment for two announcements. There is a podcast-like series, Psychology and Spirituality, A Bridge to a Better Life, which is based on the works by Joanna De Angelis. There is a new episode every Friday. The Psychology and Spirituality weekly talks are based on the works by Joanna De Angelis, offering a safe space to confront, compare, correlate, and expand spirituality concepts from a psychological lens, bringing insights, actionable tips, and real-world advice to help you lead a better life. Please subscribe to receive notifications of the new episodes at the United States Spiritist Federation YouTube channel. Also, on September 30th this year, we had the 17th U.S. Spiritist Symposium in Portland, Oregon. The theme will be Spiritual Path to Mental Balance. It will be held at the Lincoln Recital Hall in Portland State University. So please register at the spiritistfederation.org, which you see on your screen. And I think it will be a great time for everyone there. And one more item. On the screen, you will notice there is a QR code. If you want to help the USSF produce more publications and promote Spiritism to everyone, please scan the QR code on screen for your donation. Now, let us return to Sabrina. Together with everyone who is watching this broadcast now, I want to give you a very warm welcome. It is wonderful to have you with us today to discuss Is Seeing Believing? I'm sure all of you are as eager as I am to hear from Sabrina. Before she starts to enlighten us in the next hour, please allow me to formally introduce her. Sabrina is a Spiritist speaker who began studying Spiritism in her childhood. She is the general coordinator of the Department of Passes and also responsible for the Magnetism and Spiritism studies at Peace and Knowledge Spiritist Center in Orlando, Florida. Professionally, Sabrina is a senior instructional designer who develops training for several U.S. federal agencies. Please take this opportunity to send your questions during the presentation using the chat window. Sabrina has reserved time to address your comments and questions once she concludes her presentations. Now, please welcome Sabrina.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for having me here again. It's such a pleasure to be with you all and at the same time disseminating the Spiritism, this message that touches our hearts in such a special way. Today's topic, it's a very simple topic, simple in a way where we can apply it to our lives in our daily basis. But in the other hand, I chose not to choose the topic as fate because the word fate has different meanings, right? And the goal here today is for us to see and understand the different aspects of faith. What is the Spiritist view of faith? Not necessarily the religious faith that we are familiar with. So the main purpose is for us to understand faith as a power of our spirit, a power in our soul, something that we have to learn how to develop to thrive in life, in the many lives that we live as an immortal spirit. Before we start, I just want to ask you a question for us to start to reflect on that. In our daily lives, when we talk about faith, when we talk about beliefs, when we talk about what's going to happen in my life, do I really need to see to believe that this is going to happen? Do I really need to have a proof that that must happen? Or there will be many instances of life that we just know that's going to happen. For whatever reason, I don't know how that would take place, but I just know that's going to happen. And this is a very sticking point, because we are going to understand that throughout our lives, there were moments where we go through a few things and we're like, this is going to happen no matter what. I know I'm going to conquer. I know I'm going the right way. And there were times where I don't really know how to start. I don't know where this is going. So this is what we're going to talk a little bit and maybe try to apply and to think about how we can develop this power, germinate those seeds that God put into us, so we can live a more fulfilling life, trust in ourselves and the great things that can happen to us. So to begin with, I just want to do a few disclaimers where we got this information, was the study is going to be based today. The first source was the Gospel According to Spiritism, the chapter 19, the chapter called Faith Moves Mountains. The other source was in the book from Joanna G. Angelis, which it's not, I believe it's not translated yet. It's called The Jesus and the Gospel in the Light of Psychology. And the other book by Emmanuel, that's called also in Portuguese. We don't have a translation, I believe. So Blessings of Peace. That's the book with the message that he calls as in the School of Trust. He talks about a little bit of a faith, how we can apply in our daily lives. So I tried to put together a little bit of each so we could come up with a few reflections. So that's the goal for today. So when we ask ourselves as a daily questions, we could ask that, is seeing is believing, or do we see what we believe? What the faith would fall into it? So for me to understand that, okay, I only believe if I see, right? We hear people saying all the time, I'm just going to believe if I see that happen to somebody else. I'm just going to believe if one time it happens to my life, so I'll know for sure that's possible. Well, I can give you a few examples of things that for us to start to think about that not necessarily we need to see to believe. And a simple example is what? If you get some seeds, you go to Lowe's, you go to Home Depot, get some seeds to plant something. You are going to prepare, the ground and plant the seeds. You know that that's going to come up. Eventually, that's going to grow. Well, that's because I've seen other flowers, so I know they're going to grow. Well, yeah, but that's the first time you and me were planting in our own backyard. So we don't know, but we are planning. We know that eventually that's going to grow. At least that's what we hope. But what are we doing? We're doing our part, right? We are planting the seed, expecting that to grow. If that's going to happen or not, we don't know. But that's a great possibility that will happen. Another thing, it's our human body. When we are eating something, we're going to swallow, and we don't tell our stomach, go ahead and process that. No, we know when we swallow, our system automatically is going to digest that. That's great, right? So how we know that? Well, that's because it's done before, so I know that that's how it works. Well, but there was always a first time that we all didn't know. So I know this example seems very simplistic in a way, but just for us to understand that faith is not necessarily a belief system of things that I'm seeing it, of things that I know that's going to happen because it happened before. Because we are going to go through situations in life where we really don't know. If I get a diagnosis that's very severe, I don't know if I'm going to be healed. I don't know. While the person that I know was healed, but I don't know if I'm going to get out of there. And that's when the faith comes into place. I don't know, but this power, this energy, this force, whatever you want to call, is going to be playing a great role in my life for me to go through some situations, because I absolutely don't know what will be the outcome. And what do? I have a few choices to sit and wait and suffer and think that life is it and that I'm going nowhere, or I have the choice to bring and develop this power within me that will probably be a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I just know that I'm going to get there. And the problem with the seeing is believing, and I just believe when I see it. It's a lot to do with a sense of control. We want to control everything, and there are many times in our lives that we cannot control, and that's where this comes in a very opportunity for us to reflect on that, but to make a little bit more more closer to our own reality on a daily basis. A few more examples. When I go to an elevator, I'm going to enter an elevator. I don't think about anything. I don't think that the elevator is going to fall. Well, some people do, because they are totally scared, but basically I go to the elevator, I enter an elevator, the door closes, I go to the floor that I need to go, and that's it. I don't keep questioning myself. Is this going to work? I'm going to get locked here? Not necessarily, right? The same thing when we go travel. We get into the plane. We don't go in the cabin and ask the pilot, do you really know what you're doing? No. We know that that person that's in the cabin is capable of doing the trip, the pilot in that plane. So we don't even question. Same thing with a car. When we buy a car, we go for the test drive. We don't question if the brake is working, if the accelerator is working, if the engine is going to explode. No, it's a brand new car. I'm driving it. No questions. We just know. Same thing in a restaurant. I thought that those examples were even type of funny and made me think, oh my gosh, I do have faith. Because think about when you go to a restaurant. Have you thought about the waitress or the chef preparing your food and putting some poison on it? Nobody thinks about that, right? But there's a possibility, yes. But no, when I go to a restaurant, I sit down and eat without thinking. I trust that that meal is going to nurture me, that meal is going to be satisfying and it's great, right? Same thing in the medicine. I'm going to the pharmacy, grab my medication. I don't question the pharmacist. Are you sure this is the right one? Are you sure this is the right dosage? No, I just take it home and I drink it and I take it. Same thing for the doctor. I'm going over a surgery. I don't go to the doctor and say, are you sure that you know how to perform this surgery? No, he just know, and we just know. So seeing that faith is not necessarily a belief in a religious aspect. We all carry those seeds, even unconsciously speaking, and within us. And we are going to understand what's the Spiritist view on that, because the way that when we hear about faith, we like, oh no, faith is for people that they're religious, and I'm not. I don't even believe in God, so this is not for me. Well, not necessarily. We are seeing today that it has a lot to do with us, with all of us, no matter our beliefs, no matter any religion, no matter if you believe in God or not. Me and you, we all have the seeds of faith inside us. Now, let me give you another example. When we hear, when you see the kid, right, the children around 1 year old, exactly when I saw this passage from Paul in Corinthians, it made me think of a child that it's learning how to walk. The child doesn't know much, right, as far as the brain development. It's not developed yet. But guess what? When he or she gets up and do the first step, he or she will fall, right? But they continue to doing it, and they continue doing. So they don't know where they're going. They don't know if that's going to work eventually, but they are going to do what? They're going to try until they're able to walk. So when we see, this image, it's like a symbol of us, our surrender to God's will for the most part, for the movements in our lives when we walk by faith, not by what we see. Because for the most part, we are not going to see things happen in the blink of an eye. We are not going to see the solution right away. We are not going to see the ways to get into the next level. But there is a part that it's up on us to develop. I don't know where I'm going with it. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I just know that I'm going to get it. Now, if we think about some people, for some people that I'm sure you and me, we have this kind of experience. For some people, faith seems to be something natural, right? The person is like, you talk to that person and the person is so positive. So, I'm going through a lot, but I know I'm going to make it. I know that things are going to go work out. And you question yourself, well, I'm going through different situations and I can't see myself having that faith. And why in that person, it seems to be so natural, right? There are a few explanations for that. The first one, sometimes the person, considering that we live many lives, that person went through different experiences in the past. There were, kind of similar in nature, and the results, the feeling of that outcome, it's impressed in their conscious. So they know, they have some resemblance, even if it's unconsciously, that it's gonna work. So that's an innate feeling, and something they know. And some others are still in the learning process, because sometimes maybe things didn't work out the way it's supposed to be, and I'm talking about in different lives, not necessarily only in the same life, and that person still lack the confidence, that force, that movement to see, okay, maybe this is gonna work for me as well. So it really depends also in the level of progress and the experiences that that person as a spiritual being have undergone before. So in this case, that doesn't mean that we cannot develop faith, that we can get to a level and say, okay, it's not working right now. It's a struggle for me, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to face it. I'm not going to make it better. I'm not going to see a solution down the road. Yes, it is. It's hard to see. It's very questionable. But my point here is for us to see that it's beyond believing in God, or having a particular religion or faith. That's not necessarily what we are talking about today. Some people are still learning through the experiences to see where things are going, and what they're going to believe or not. This is a process. But the beauty of this is that more we go through situations in life, more experiences we have, more we develop the faith. Just ask for a mother that have 2 kids. I only have one, so I can say it. I'm just sticking my nose in there. But when you have 2 kids, the first kid, it's a whole ordeal, right? Everything is new, everything is anxiety, everything is impeccable and all that. The second child, it's more experience. Let's just not panic so much. Let's do the necessary, right? The best for the child, for us, but just not so it's not new anymore. And that's when we go over life and through different types of situations that we started to develop more and more. Even when things don't work out the way we want it, we can look back and say, wow, it really didn't happen the way that I wanted, but I learned a few lessons. I learned at least what not to do, right? What I shouldn't be doing, that I can do it next time. So it doesn't matter the situation, the the event in life. We are having the opportunities to develop this force, this power. I love to call the fate as a power, because it is a power that we all carry on us. The difference between each one of us is how we are developing that, what we are doing to develop that. And I love this definition on Hebrews for about faith. It's really like right to the point. Faith is the confidence that what we hope for will actually happen. It gives us assurance about things we cannot see. This is what is faith. At any time, we are talking about faith is to believe in God. Faith is to have, something that we can attach ourselves to it to make it happen. No, this is the confidence, the inner confidence that we carry inside us that we don't know. We hope that will happen. We just don't know how. We cannot see how that's going to happen. And isn't our lives like that? If we think about reincarnation, for example, when I'm in the spiritual world, I'm ready to come back to this planet. It's a very anxious time, right? Because I don't know what I'm about to do. I have a plan, a sort of a plan, the family that I'm gonna have, the people, key people that I'm gonna meet. But it is a time of uncertainty. But what happens? We come no matter what. We face it. We face the challenge, we start our lives, and we move on. We don't know necessarily what will be the outcome. I have a good roadmap, but I can deviate at any time through my free will, right? But that doesn't mean that, okay, where am I going? I'm totally lost. No, we all have a path. We all have, a solution at the end. The problem is that we see in this method of fate is that we wanted to know for sure that that's going to happen exactly as I want. And this is the problem, because sometimes we think I don't have faith because what I wanted, it didn't happen. True for your life and for mine. But how about we think that not necessarily what we want is the best for us? How about we think that what happened to me, no matter what I thought it was what I wanted or not, is exactly what I needed, what I need to learn, what I need to develop, right? Because right now, when we are in the midst of the storm, we don't see this. But later on, as the experiences go by, we are going to understand that. And why? Because deep inside, even if we don't carry the faith yet, if we don't develop that yet, there is, you can call whatever you want, a force, a being, an energy that is superior to us, that is guiding our path. And that's the voice that resonates inside us. Keep moving. Keep moving. You're going to get there. Don't worry about how. Do your part, and I will do mine. Now, in the gospel according to Spiritism, there is Allan Kardec comes to define faith in the Spiritist view, which is not any contrary to what we just saw in the Hebrews. Faith is the innate sentiment in human beings of their future destiny. It is the awareness they have of the faculties or seed was deposited in them, first in the latent state, in which they now must make blossom and will grow by their active will. The innate sentiment, human beings, we know that we have a bright future. We might not necessarily be aware in a way consciously, but as creatures of God, with the light seeds of the love seeds on us, we know that the future is bright. Perhaps We don't see that yet. And that comes the desperation. But we are aware that those faculties that we have inside us, we have the faculties, we have the seeds, but it's up to us to make it blossom according to our active will. So it's not about only what God is going to bring it to me, right? How life is going to move me, and now it's just sit away. No, when we think about Christ, right? When Christ used to heal people, right? He was not doing that to show off. This is what I do, and you guys are nothing. No, he was what he used to say to those people when he healed them. Your faith has healed you. He never said, I healed you, God healed you. No, your faith. Why? Because that person was already in a stage of expecting more and doing something for that to happen, right? That person was ready to put that force in action. So Christ, in his wisdom, would say, of course, he had the energy, right? The pure energy to heal that person. That would be the, the engine, right? The person, the help from above that would guide that process. But Christ could heal everybody, right? With his power. But not necessarily he did. He did for those who were ready for it. And that's why he used to say, your faith healed you. He knew that inside us, we have that power. And some of us are more developed than others. But the goal is that for us to take, understand faith in a higher level. And the level that Christ have taught us, you can do a lot if you have faith. In the different levels, of course, but we can develop. There are things in life that we cannot change. We know that. If I was born without a leg, that's a fact. I don't have a leg. But faith can help me to see life in a different perspective. I don't have a leg, but hey, what else can I do, with my intelligence? To help others, or to use other parts of my body to supply their need, right? Where can I go? What else can I do? And not necessarily we stay in that stage of that's not in there for me. There's nothing else for me. And another aspect of faith, according to the gospel, according to Spiritism, is that they're going to tell us that the faith can be human or divine. What is that? This is like when we have a situation where let's put like a person, a scientist, a very a genius scientist. Not necessarily this person it's a religious person or even believe in God. Not necessarily, right? But this person has faith. How? When they are about to discover something, when they want to research on something, they are going to do it until they get it. They are not going to stop. They're going to put all their strength, all their knowledge, all their intelligence, all their will to make that happen, to find the vaccine, to discover something new. This is faith. In a different aspect of faith, of a human faith, that will also be able to move the things in life, the material things, the things that involve our intelligence connected to this planet. But there is also what they call the divine faith, which is more in the moral side. The faith in the future, in a better future, the faith that we go through a lot of things in life, but we are still trying to strive for goodness, trying to do noble actions, try to search for opportunities to help others and to develop ourselves in a way, because we are looking ahead. we are seeing something beyond the struggle that we are seeing right now. And that faith gives us the strength to overcome all these obstacles, even the evil tendencies that we all carry, to the point that they are going to say in the gospel, in the same chapter, there is no evil tendencies or things that we need to make it better in us that faith cannot help, that cannot overcome. So there is a will. We hear all that. There is a way. Is that process going to be fast? Not necessarily, depending on each one of us, right? Depending on how we see life, how we go through our lives. But that's possible. When we talked about the researchers and the men of science, we are not here to provide any comments in a way of a criticism and to say, oh, all the scientists don't believe in anything. No, we are just doing a comparison based on what Spiritism teaches us. How it doesn't mean that the person has to have a religious belief to have faith. So we all carry this seed, no matter how. If we can think of another aspect, is that faith cannot be transferred, cannot be imposed, can't be prescribed, right? And that's what makes some people say, well, that's why I'm not a faithful person, because nobody has given to me, nobody has taught me how to do it, and we hear a lot of excuses. Now, faith must be developed, conquered, and is accessible for everyone. Everybody can do that. Now, we are talking about the faith that it's related to a spiritual need, to a moral need, to things related to our progress as a spiritual progress in life, not necessarily a belief. And why I'm reinforcing this, I'm bringing this, because when we hear about faith, all we think about is going to a temple, to a church, to a spirit center and pray that God is going to help us, and pray or make promises or things like that. And no, this is something that has our part on it. We play a huge part in this process, in this developing of this power. So faith doesn't fall into our laps, right? And the person looks to the sky and say, well, I would love to be a faithful person like you. So look for developing that. The situation came to your life and to mine. How can I solve this? And if I don't see the solution, I'm going to pray. I'm going to find ways of doing it. I'm going to reach out to people, right? That all help us. But if I sit down and wait, everything is lost. I don't know. I'm a loser. I don't even know how to start. Then it's very hard, right? It's very hard for us to move on with this. Some people, even say, well, I would love to be a faithful person, but it's very hard. And sometimes we're just saying through the mouth, because believe it or not, for us to develop faith, to really kind of living in faith, it might require a lot of change in our habits, in our conduct. A quick example. I have faith that I'm going to get better from this disease. Great. I believe in God, or I don't believe in God, but I know I'm going to get over it. Great. But you and me, we don't stop eating what we shouldn't. We don't exercise. We don't take the medication, right? Oh, so it doesn't work for me. I have faith, but I'm not getting better. What is our part in that? We don't want to do any effort to do anything, right? We don't want to change a few habits. And that becomes very difficult to develop, right? So there is a two ways of seeing this. Another aspect that we can reflect upon it, it's that the faith proceeds also from past experiences. We've been living many, many lives before this one, many lives. So if a person have situations that they were experienced before, they have the memory, the feeling, that's gonna work. I'll give you a quick example. As a mother, if we have a child in one life that was a very, very difficult task. I see motherhood as a function, as a mission, right? A very difficult mission. And in this life, we reincarnate and we also have children. They're a little bit of a struggle, but you know what? For that mother, she's gonna make it. She knows, I know it's hard. There's a lot of things I have to deal with it, but he's gonna make it. He's gonna do great. Why? Most of the times, that's because that person, that spirit has such a faith inside because she or he have come through a lot and they know what it is, the outcome. They know that eventually that's going to work out. So the spirit carry this strength. And that's why for some people, right, it's very something like is natural. They face a challenge with all their, how come you can be so strong to face this? No, there's no magic, there's no miracle. Sometimes the person has, used the experiences in life to for the best of their, intent, of their knowledge, and to try to develop faith. Sometimes they have lived this similar situations in past lives where the results, the feeling of the outcomes of all the emotions from that moment is still with us, and that gives us the strength to move on. So, and this is the beauty of it. More we go through life, more we face different instances and different events and things, they're happy or not happy, we are contributing to developing ourselves and to develop faith and new steps and new things that are going to come, because it would be I'll be very hypocrite and a liar to tell you and myself that great, at some point everything is going to stop because I have faith. No. More you develop your faith, my friends, more you're preparing yourself for greater challenges. But those challenges are for your good, for your strength, for your spiritual development towards light, not as a punishment. How we would develop this power, those seeds that God deposited in us, if it wasn't for the hard times or the challenging times or the times for learning. Most of us though might not have like a much of a harsh experiences, but we don't like to learn anything new. For some people, reading a book is a struggle. For some people, going to school, it's awful, right? So each person is on a different level, and it's that okay. We all know what it really hits us, right? That's what I like to say. We all know where the shoe is tied. In the other hand, there are times where past experiences, that person in particular didn't overcome well, right? Even maybe because he or she couldn't make it or didn't want to make it, or things happen in between that, no matter what, that was not a successful experience. And that individual, the same way of the positive one, carry the strength to move on for bigger challenges. This one brings all the trauma, all the the feelings of things that didn't work the way that they wanted to, or that they should have done better and haven't and didn't do, and they know the outcome, so they're like, I'm not even going to try. But that's not the point. That's why we reincarnate. That's why we have new lives. It's a new chapter. It's a new beginning. As we move through it, maybe we try to see each step, right? Each chapter of our life, like a day in our lives, as a new chapter. Yesterday was rough. Yesterday, I still don't know what I'm going to do with that problem. Today is a new day. If I'm a religious person or if I believe in God, whatever that is, I'm going to say a prayer. Not to ask necessarily, this is how I want, God. This is what I want and how I want. But God, this is what I would love to have. This is the situation I have to face. This is the problem I have ahead of me. Please show me the way to get there. Help me with encouragement, with hope, with peace in my heart, with clarity on my mind, so I can overcome this. This is a very, very powerful thought that will help us to develop faith. It's a strong connection, because once we think, when we put our thought in there, thought, it's matter, is a force we are creating. And that's where, even if we don't, but I don't know how it's going to happen, it's okay. Let's just think that's going to happen. Let's think positive, moving forward, not backwards. And the most wonderful definition that I can bring it to you today, that in my opinion is what Allan Kardec said, is a very simple one. Faith is the will to wish in the certainty that such a will can obtain its fulfillment. I want something. I'm like really, really, like my will is very strong on that. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I just know it will. It can take 1 year. It can take 500 years. It can take 50 lives. I just know that that's going to happen. It's the clarity of the certainty. I know, I see a tunnel. I know that there is an end. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I have to start walking. And the impulse to start walking is what is going to motivate us to keep moving towards something that I cannot control, but hey, I'm going to get there. This is the beauty of it. Because when we try to control everything, things can get really, really, really difficult. So I want something. I put the will in my heart. I know that I can get there. And if I don't get exactly what I want, I don't reach exactly what I want, that's okay. I try my best. I open my heart. The plant in this ground is a beautiful analogy on that. If we have a ground like that, we plant a seed. There, it's very hard, right? That's not the ground for a seed. But eventually, if that plant wants it to grow, it's gonna break it over everything that it's in front of her, all the obstacles, all the things that everybody said, this is hard, you're not gonna make it, or that voice that tells you, well, you're not good enough. That plant is gonna break through it. And this is life. This is life. We are not here to show others how much we believe in ourselves, or no, we are here to take care of ourselves in a way, not in a selfish way, but in a way of thinking the spiritual evolution is individual. We need each other to evolve, correct, and to learn, to cooperate, yes, but my evolution is individual. So with that said, let's think about this. Where am I putting my will? When I really want something, what I'm doing with it? Am I just sitting down and waiting to happen? How it's my heart towards that wish? How it's my heart towards that family situation that it's going through, and I know I'm not be able to solve on my own? Do I have any hope that will ever get better? So let's just think about this. We all can reflect on those topics. And the one that really kind of touched my heart, it's when we hear, right, the faith can move mountains. Well, literally, if we think about, no, I can be looking in a mountain and having faith, it's not going to move, right? Because it's a physical process. I don't have the strength to move the mountain, right? Physically speaking. So what are the mountains that Christ brought it to us? And he said, if we have a faith as a mustard seed, it's pretty tiny. It's pretty tiny. It's almost invisible. You can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible to you. Maybe we think, well, it's impossible because I just got this new diagnosis and I have a terminal illness. Well, I can tell you, it might be impossible for the body that we are carrying on right now, but not for your spirit, because you're going to continue to live and you're going to reincarnate in a brand new condition. So it is going to be moved. The way that we see, if we literally take this phrase, we are not going to go anywhere, because no, I cannot move the mountains of bills and financial struggle that I'm going through right now. I can't. But what are the mountains that maybe Jesus is trying to tell us? The mountains of maybe the difficulties, the resistance that I have, my will that sometimes is very ill, my lack of perseverance, my lack of hope, pessimism. Maybe those are the mountains that can help. The problem is still going to be there. Let's just not be think, okay, I have faith, everything is gonna just disappear. No, the problem is still going to be there. The situation, sometimes we won't be able to change it, but faith that moves the mountains is going to help us to see for a different perspective, to maybe find more strength to deal with that situation. And that's what it's about. So I pray, or I ask, or I believe, or I don't believe in whatever, but I wanted this to happen and never happened. Well, have you thought about maybe that you found different ways to deal with it? Have you found a strength? I don't know what happened, but when I decided to see this problem in a different way, and thinking that one day I'm going to be able to conquer it, and things are going to start moving, something changed in me. I found like a strength. I've heard this from people all the time. On a daily basis, we allow me a personal example. We deal with a lot of people that are very ill, and some of them are in the terminal stage. And when they started treatment, they started to get in touch with the spiritism. Many of them come to me and say, I don't know what happened. My diagnosis is the same, but I'm feeling so more energetic. I'm feeling like my disease or my issues at the family and things that I was struggling before are so tiny, closer to the strength that I'm getting it. And this is the beauty of it. And that's when Christ tells those people, your faith healed you. It's not a matter of you're going to die or not, because we are all going, one day, this body is going to go. It's a matter how you face it, how you see life, what are you doing on your part. So faith brings this consolation. Not necessarily solve our problem, but will sustain our hope, will help us to take action. What God will be that would make a promise for her, like many like to say, and not fulfill it? There is a way out there for all of us. The culture of the faith, how you develop that, how you cope the positive faith, it takes time. It takes strength. It takes intelligence. And I'm not talking about the intelligence of the academia intelligence. I'm talking about emotional intelligence. For we all to see, okay, this is the situation in my life, how I'm going to overcome this, how I'm feeling towards that person that hurt me so bad. How can I improve their relationship? So faith, to be great and to have a power in our lives, also needs our action. Faith without action is totally dead. But what a person in a terminal stage of life that cannot get out of the bed, how come this person can develop faith if they cannot move? They cannot do anything. Yes, they can. They can, if the person is a person that can pray and likes to pray, they can pray, asking for all this that we have discussed: strength, hope to overcome what they're going through, alleviation, healing. We never know. We don't know what's in God's plan. But what's in God's plan is not because God said you go, you get it, and you don't. That's what we've been built through our lives. And that's the best for us. And in a way that we can ask ourselves, what is them to put the faith in God? Not necessarily faith in God is like, okay, I believe in God and a part of our religions. No, a part of our religion, no. It's like we embrace our spiritual aspects in life. We see a future ahead of us. We see things moving and happening beyond matter, beyond this ill body, beyond this struggle at work. I've seen things moving, a force that is moving and is moving me to overcome that challenge. So faith is not necessarily, oh, you have faith because you believe in God. No. But yet, faith in God help us to give us the strength, because at some point, we are going to have to surrender to a power that it's a lot more superior than us. And we don't want to get to that, because some people said, well, I've done everything. Now it's in God's hand. No, we should, at the same time that we say, well, I'm doing everything I can. That's my part, right? It's in God's hand. No, it should be in God's hand since the beginning. God doing its part, and I'm doing my part. With a faith that it's moving me because it's helping me to see His justice, His love in my life. So knowing that even though we have faith, we want something, we have to understand and surrender and understand that nothing happens in our lives without God allows us to go through. Nothing. Necessarily speaking, if we think about the struggles that we go through, He is not saying to us, go there and move through this and deal with it. No, that's the best for us. There are things that we still have to work on, and that's why we have those seeds. Those challenges are going to come, and we have to be prepared, and there is a way to go through them. And the way that we see, I like to think sometimes, how is my faith, like a thermometer, right? What's the fever on my faith today? Because some days it's very little. Some days it's just like, I'm gonna make it. This is awesome. And I try to remember what would be the Jesus faith. What would be in His mind on that? And me, very small, trying to understand, maybe Jesus had all the strength that He had, and trying to bring it to us because He had the certainty of His own power. And we should have the certainty in our own power, in what we can do with our own lives, and how we affect others in a positive way, of course. But at the same time that He has this certainty in His own power, He was in perfect harmony with God, knowing that no matter things that He wouldn't be able to deal with it, he knew where to go to. And this is sometimes what we lack. We want to solve everything with our own hands. We think that we know what to do 100% of the time. We have to understand that we have something that is above us that can give the little push. But when we want to solve things alone, when we want to know help, we think we are self-sufficient, then it's even harder to move those mountains. So the mountains that we want to move is the mountains of, a lack of a better life, lack of seeing a bright future. Trying to think, like, I like to think when I go through a challenge and I'm thinking, did I go through this before, or something that I can, that can relate to it, and that brings me the strength to move on. And we have many of those days. Relationships are one, right? You got into a relationship that was not that well, and then you go into another one. You know what to do, right? Eventually, some people do, some people don't, but you know what's gonna work and what you want. So you already have that experience. But at some point, you also need to understand that, well, in a way that we're different people. It's a different perspective, it's a different situation. So what do I do now? I cannot simply copy and paste, right? Conditions. But those past experiences in talking in relationship is gonna help me to make a different relationship now. And what is that? Is magic? No. Those are experiences. So I know I faced some challenges. I overcome them. I was able to deal with them. I was strong. And now what's going to happen this one? Let me see if I can put up all that I learned again in a different way, in a better way this time. And to continue on, closing this aspect of the mountains, I love this other, thought from Joanna de Angelis, that she explains to us that the faith is a force that radiates as an operating energy and therefore manages to remove the mountains of difficulties, flatten the edges of conflicts, undermine the resistance that opposes the march of progress. The faith, now remember the move mountains, right? This is what it moves. This is the faith that we're talking about. It's a force that gives us this operating energy. Oh, I'm aware now. Where do I start? Let me start at some point. Let me move out of this bed. Let me try to find, help somewhere else. That's a start. This operating energy, because I wanted to solve that situation. I wanted to, it doesn't even need to be something difficult to deal with. It could be a course that you want to take, a degree that you want, anything in life. I have to move. I have to do my part. And then it manages to remove the mountains of difficulties, because sometimes we want something really bad. It could be anything in the physical matter or as a moral aspect. And we're going to find some hard ways to go through it. When we have faith, when we develop that slowly, miraculously, we might think, wow, wasn't that hard as I thought it was? It's not a miracle. That's because you and I, we put our force to it, and we kind of work through it in a way that the challenges were there, but we made it. But if I focus on what the obstacles are and how come that road is going to be hard, I'm not getting to my destination. So when we see, like I like to see, when you have a goal, when you have a purpose, it's going to be a hard ways to get there. Yeah, it's going to be hard sometimes. It's going to be challenging. You're going to have, wrong, end of the way that we thought it was the GPS was taking to the right place, and it's not. But at the same time, we always have a way to come back to the right route and continue on. And it helps to alleviate conflicts, help us to continue to march toward progress without being stuck. Because there are times in life that we are stuck. And faith helps us to move on, get out of this chair, and let's do this first step. Let's take the challenge. Oh, I'm not an adventurous person. Well, I have to tell you the truth. You are on this planet. You want it or not, we are gonna have to go through some adventures. That is not a choice. So with that tool that we all have, we can start to apply to our lives in a different perspective. The goal is not to convince you to turn into spiritism or to sign up for any traditional religion, anything like that. No, we are seeing here today. That's not about that only. It's about my perspective in life, how I'm moving things around, how am I going? I'm dealing with the pathway that nobody made it for myself, that I construct myself. In fact, we can think of this as a gift from God. The ability to have free will, the ability to not be condemned. I made a move that was not the best one. I go back to the track. It's going to take, requires a little bit hard work, but it's possible. It's not the end. And that requires faith, because I'm going to fail. We are going to fail. We are going to make mistakes. And I was talking to my son this morning about an issue we had this week, and I said, I've been upset with me for making mistakes all the time. And when I do, I have a choice. One of them is to be feeling guilty, punishing myself. And another way of seeing is that, okay, what do I do with this? I know it was a mistake, wasn't right. I didn't want it to proceed like that. What do I do to not happen again? Or if it is closer to happen again, for me to think about it. What can I do differently next time? Different ways of seeing this. But if we sit down and think that I'm not good enough, I don't have strength for that, that's a great possibility that I won't be able to move. And we want to take the initiative to move in life instead of life start moving us. We don't want to do that. And with that, I brought for us to wrap up our talk today a few examples of faith that we may not reflect upon when they happen. And this, my hope is that this can clarify a little bit of what we talked about it and how we can put this in practice and see that we all have faith. When you see the situations I'm about to bring, we are going to think, well, yeah, I've been through a lot and I really have this power in me. Let's just see a couple of them. First one, family. Family is a very difficult topic, right? It's a blessing from God. Sometimes it's a blessing with hardships. We have our loved ones, we have disappointments, we have wonderful moments for many of us, peaceful moments besides the people that we love, but sometimes we face difficult trials, especially those that we didn't expect. We all know them. I don't need to be giving any examples. We all know where that touches us. But I have something for you all to reflect. When those things happen in family, and we are able to overcome, we are able to continue to having a healthy relationship and trying to understand one another, and keeping, at least making attempts to keep an environment, right, a healthy environment in our lives. This was the day that we used our faith in the power of patience. So if any of us have gone through a lot in a family or with friends, with loved ones, and you were able to make it, that was your faith in the power of patience. And who is bringing out these reflections to us is Joanna de Angelis in that message, in that book that I mentioned earlier, Jesus and the Gospel in the Light of Psychology. If I dealt with those struggles in family, if raising kids, we need to have faith in the power of patience. Marriage, everything. So this is just one example. The next one, work. Let's think work environments in general, friendships, criticism. So we have great experiences in life. We had friends, we have a great, managers at work, teamwork was great. We did our best. We cultivate peace. We try to, sometimes we try to please everyone, which shouldn't be, that's topic for another lecture, but, act in a goodwill, the best of us did everything we could within our reach, right? And what happened? Even though in the past we conquered the respect, the affection of many, at some point in life, we may face situations where it's going to overshadowing all this hard work that we put together. We are going to attract merciless criticism for things that we are going to consider this is not fair, right? That's what I like to say. It feels like it's raining, but it's raining fire on top of us. Not even feel like a life anymore, right? Friends turn their back. The friends that you thought that were friends is not really that friend anymore. Things like that. There are many examples we can bring. And remember, we have done everything in our power to manage relationships, to respect, to care for one another, to act in goodwill. So you are type of person that I haven't done anything that I could see myself deserving this, right? But look at the beauty of it, that she's going to bring it to us. This was day of your faith in the power of work. In our minds, in our hearts, we know we did everything that we could for our best knowledge. Everything. Our best intention. And yet, we get criticism. We get people turning back to us. What we have to remember? What we did. That's what matters. I only have the control of things that I do. I don't have the control how people are going to treat me, what they're going to say, when they're going to decide to throw a criticism on me. I don't have that power, but I do have the power of continuing to doing my best, no matter what. The power of knowing my intention. And this is great. This brings us force. This makes us remember, wow, in that situation at work, I'm sure many of you might be thinking about that. That situation at work, I could have done a lot of things that wouldn't have a great outcome. And I didn't. I was able to overcome. Because I know I did the right thing. No, it's hard sometimes to pay the price for who we are. Especially when we are in situations that is going to touch in the ways that will kind of force us to lower our moral standards. And this happens a lot in a work environment and amongst friends that we call friends amongst society. But never forget that in those times, I had faith in the power of my work, in the power that I know what is right, that I did the best that I could. Could not be the best for the other, but best for me, for my knowledge, my understanding. Sometimes it's not the best. We don't know. What could be better for me is not be better for you. But in my mind, it's not heavy. It's my conscience is like, I did the best that I could. And I'm still going through this. And I'm still going to carry on the power of work, the power of being in the right track. Next one. This is hard. It's getting harder when we go, but trust. We fulfill our duties, try to respect, show our love, did everything possible, either to please everyone or in a relationship or whatever the situation. We can trust can be applied for many situations in life. And betrayal came. Envy. What we do with that? We have our faith in the power of forgiveness. If we all look back, we are going to think about situations where, not for us to be stuck in the past and trying to bring that, and feeling that again. No, this is for us to recover at some point, I went through a lot and here I am today. I was able to make it. So that's a reminder for all of us. That was the day that my faith was acting the power of forgiveness. Today, I've seen that person that betrayed me in a different way. This is great. So at some point, I had faith. I had faith that forgiveness was the right way. Then don't carry that, that heaviness on my heart was the right way. And time passed and things moved on. I'm stronger now because that was my faith using the power of forgiveness. I believe that even unconsciously, that when I look back and now I'm going through a situation of lack of trust, of hurt, of betrayal, I can look back and say, I overcame before. I can make it in a better way now because I know more. I'm stronger now. And that's the beauty of it. So we all carry this force in different situations in life. That's why we continue moving on. It's unnoticeable sometimes. But every time we overcome a challenge or we are trying to overcome, we have to look back and maybe thinking about a situation. Wow, in that past, I went through a lot, and how am I going to solve this today? But I was able to make it, and that gives you strength. Oh no, but I don't even want to remember that. I understand, and neither do I. But sometimes only going to what we were able to overcome and get out of that in the best way possible can be the trigger for us to continue march on. And sometimes it won't be in this life. Like I said, it could be in past lives, but we don't remember when we are in the stage of awareness, but our spirit knows. So before we go to sleep, we have the huge problem in our hands. Let's think about that. During sleep, when my body rests, my spirit is free. Help me to, find within me the strength and the power, the solution or whatever from that moment that I was able to overcome. And I can guarantee to you that the next day, the problem will continue there, but you're going to have a different perspective. This is life. This is us. This one is a very, very touching point as well. We embraced our loved ones. Sometimes we offered everything. For some, even our own lives. Leaving behind many things, many dreams, aspirations to fulfill somebody else's needs as children, as in a marriage, no matter what. And at some point in life, we may find ourselves surrounded by incomprehension, ingratitude. What do we do with that? This is a very hurtful situation. We as a parent or as a family, as a loved one, it doesn't matter. Those pictures are only representations of what we consider the closest right? Love that we think that might be the most pure on earth, which is parents to their children. Not necessarily as a rule. I'm not generalizing anything. I'm just giving an example. But you carry that child since the early days. You nurture, you do whatever you can. You dream of a future. You show your best. You did everything in your power for that person to be successful. And what happens? It could be that that individual doesn't want to follow that path. And on top of that, might mistreat you, might even not even recognize anything that you did. And I like to always talk about ingratitude, which is another topic, but it's something that helps me a lot. When we feel, betrayed or with a feeling of ingratitude, we have to always think and ask ourselves, I'm feeling like that, why? Because if I gave everything from the best of me with a most pure heart, the feeling of ingratitude deep inside, that's because I was waiting something in return. Because if I was not waiting something in return, I wouldn't feel like that. And it's okay. We are human beings. We are still going to feel like that. But let's think about this. So those children, they're going to grow. They're going to follow their own paths, despite what we have done to help them. We do our part. And at some point in life, they're going to move on and make their own choices. But throughout this path, which can be very hurtful, and when we look back and we see our grown-up, children acting like this, or, any situations in the family, let's just make it more general. That was the result of our faith in the power of love. Because deep inside, we knew that spirit, that today it's a grown-up man, grown-up woman, didn't love us that much. Our spirit knew. But we still accept to receive this person in our arms to live and learn together. This is the beauty of it. So at some point, I continue on, even if this child, if this teenager, whoever that is still mistreating me, disrespecting me, which is not right. We are not here to say this is okay. But I keep moving on, and I keep trying my best, and I keep loving because of my faith on the power of love. And this is wonderful. How many of us can identify ourselves with those situations and say, wow, I didn't know that I had this power within me? From all these times that I've been through life and different conditions, and wow, I overcame a lot of things. And if I didn't, it's okay too. It's always a time to start. If I'm still in the midst of the struggle, not knowing how I'm going to do it, and if I failed really badly, that's okay. We're going to fail. We're going to have an opportunity to do it again without condemnation. It's always a time to start, to make it better. And to end our topic today, I want to bring a statement from May that really, really touched my heart. Every time that I read this message from her, she talks about the fate, in life. And I got a few sentences for us to reflect today. It really touched me and gave me so much strength. And that's my hope, that you can also feel like this and maybe apply that and have yourself, find that useful as well. So one of the things that she's going to say is that for us, not lose our faith when the shadows, right, the hard times at our lives throughout our journey on earth. Even if our feet is bleeding, which many of us are in this condition right now. We have to continue to move forward. Lifting ourselves, lifting our faith to see this heavenly light. You can call God if you believe in God. You can call force. You can call the force within you. It doesn't matter. See positive things coming your way above what we are seeing right now, above ourselves. Because at the same level, we won't be able to see it. Even if sometimes the solution and the things are right on the top of our noses, sometimes we're so blinded by the, all the struggle, all the hardships that are coming through it, that we don't have the clarity. And this clarity of the certainty that things are going to work out for me, that's the faith I have to cultivate. So she also tells us that for us to continue believe and work, striving for good, not for so. I'm just going to do a little bit. Strive for good. Do your part and wait patiently. What's wait patiently? Just sit down and pretend that nothing's happening? No. You do your part. I do mine. And now we see things moving. But it's hard when I don't do my part. She also tells us that there are a lot of unhappy people in the world, right? But the most unhappy, the most unfortunate people are the ones that lost the faith. They lost the faith in God, or faith in themselves, lost the confidence that life can be better and want to continue to live. There is no much more suffering, misfortune, the greatest misfortune that she tells us. Because how you're going to get up in the morning thinking that this is it? This is it. There's no way to go. So it doesn't matter if you are rich, if you are healthy, when your stage of mind is, this is it, I lost trust on myself, I don't have confidence that nothing is going to happen to me, nothing of this matters. We have to go forward and recover this spiritual power to move on, no matter the situation. And she also tells us that today, it could be darkness. It could be a lot of shadow. The down, it's coming. But there is the down and there is the light. The down is going to shine beyond the light. And today, it could be that the storms of life are crushing us to the bottom. Really, really hurtful. But one thing that she always tells us is that it doesn't matter that this is crushing us today. This is so hard. It is hard. It is hard, my friends. Life can get into the best and the worst of us. We know that. But remember, it's not by chance. It's not just something that fell off from the sky. That's the product of our journey. And the best thing we can do is to continue to walk with heads lifted, with a force that is beyond us and the one that we can develop ourselves. So don't forget that however all this is happening, tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow is a different chapter. And when Emmanuel tells us that for us to bless our days of affliction, our days of hardships and things that's happening that we're like, where is God? Where is God? That's the day that we have to understand the perfect trust in God. That nothing happens by chance. And understand the meaning of his justice. A loving God will not throw us in a rough path on our own. And that's, to end our topic, that's what it means when we saw at the beginning, when Paul in the Corinthians tells us, do we walk by faith, not by sight? So not necessarily what I see is what's going to happen. For the most part, what I'm not seeing, it's the way. Let's think about this. If I believe only what I see, I'll be surprised that after all we discussed today, if we won't be touched in a way that any conditions and things that fall into our laps, we're going to think, okay, is this something that I have to see to believe? Or this is something that I'm already believing is going to work out, even if I don't know the way. So this is my the study that I want to share with you, a few reflections. I try to keep the talk really simplistic. My goal is always touching the hearts in the best way and just bring it to you all, the message that really, really in depth touched my heart and helped me a lot in my own struggles in life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Sabrina, for the reflections you provided. Okay. Next Saturday, we will have a wonderful talk again by Marcio Silva on defying selfishness. And Sabrina, before we close the live, would you please offer a prayer?
Sure. Thank you, God, for this day of opportunities for us to reflect upon your spiritual truth and the path in our lives. We thank you for the gift of life, for the blessings of spiritism in our hearts. May the energies of love and peace and harmony surround all of us who are present and who aren't, involving all this planet as well. May the light of the goodwill, good intentions, love, and peace that yet we are to conquer be the seeds in our hearts to germinate each and every day. Father, the justice and love, we pray for all those who are under discouragement, that lost their hope. We pray for them as we pray for us to continue living our lives the best possible, with trust in better days, happy future, and great deeds. So be it.